Lots of butter.
Yeah, that was probably off. That hedge ranch wasn't that.
Yeah, all of my kids wanna go to Phantom and their spouses.
It's like
That's
a
expensive.
stomping ground. Fourth of July celebration there.
Alright, 6 o'clock. Please stand and join me in the pledge. Flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And welcome to our regular board meeting. Alright, we will get to item 2. Are there gonna be any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yeah, we have 2 tonight. We have an addition in the personnel report for a Wheeland Middle School volleyball aide. They just secured that today. We opened up the aide and we opened up a coaching position and we're back to the aide position. So that is new. And that's Asha Mullins, gonna be recommended for that middle school aide. That'll be in the personnel report. And then the second one is gonna be new business number 5, isolation pay number 3. It was stated, the mileage was actually 32 miles, and it was corrected, it's actually 3.7 miles per trip, so that's an adjustment. And I think there was a little sticky note on that one, so that's clarified, so those are the 2 additions.
Alright, I would entertain a motion to approve the additions to the agenda.
I'll make a okay, then you can finish chewing, right? I'll make a motion to accept the agenda with the changes.
This is just for the addition of that John talked about, so
The addition to the agenda.
correct,
I will make a motion to accept the additions to the agenda.
thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Alright, any further discussion on the agenda additions? Okay, all those in favor to approve the additions to the agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Thank you. Alright, now then, item 3, we will now, I would accept a motion to approve the agenda with additional bills.
Madam Chairman, I'll move to approve the agenda with additional bills.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the agenda or the additional bills?
I just have a question. What's the sergeant lab for $6,180 for?
Did you know that? I don't know that.
I can't, it's for our classroom management software.
Oh, okay,
Oh, thanks, Ryan.
thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor to approve the agenda with additional bills, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. And item 4 is gonna be our good things happening. Would like to just send out a shout out to our high school golf team. And they're showing at the conference. They did, it was amazing, good job guys. Okay, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Weigel.
Yeah, so last month we had our new certified staff come forward and introduce themselves. Keith Gross was actually at open house at Glendale, so we asked him to come in today, so if you want to come on up and
Sure.
share a little bit about yourself.
Do you want me to walk all the way up?
Oh, you can sit right there's good, you're good, you're good, you're good.
Just so we can see you. You need to walk. No.
No, my voice carries pretty well, so I think you'll be okay. No, I'm Keith Gross. I'm one of the new elementary school teachers in Glendale. I teach pretty much 3rd through 6th, but have the opportunity to work with kindergartners through 6th, which I think is really cool, having worked with that age group in the past. I think we have a wonderful school up there. We have a great team. There's a real sense of community in a school that's that small. All the kids know each other. I get to know all the kids, and I feel very fortunate that I have the position that I do there.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then next one, I don't know, Ryan, is there a link to that, or can you put that up on the website? The teaching today, leading tomorrow? I'll let you work on that as we go to the next one. And then we wanna celebrate a donation to the golf team from the Cowboy Derby in the amount of $5,000. That'll be actually back below in for approval also, but just acknowledge that.
Okay.
So if you guys remember, last year we had Why Choose Plat One. That was kind of a slogan we had, so this year we're looking at teaching today, leading tomorrow, so we alternate between elementary and secondary. We like to have pictures, so we see the students actually in action, and then a little caption of it, and it's really highlighting, some really innovative teaching and hopefully showing some leadership and skills that will, lead into successful adulthood for our students, so. If you ever look at that, every Wednesday we try to post those, so.
Okay. And no correspondence? No. Okay, alright, and we do have a visitor, with, visitor comments. And, thank you. Okay. Just, this is Carly Ruby, right?
Yep.
Okay, and we have 3 minutes, if you would,
Before I give my comment, I just have a quick question for the board. When is today's recording gonna be posted online, or can it be expected to be posted, since I know in the past it's had a little bit of a delay?
it's usually tomorrow.
It just depends on how long it takes to render the video, because it's a raw video, and so we have to turn around and run it through video editing software to render it and then get it uploaded.
Do you know like the general timeframe?
I could probably have it up by end of day tomorrow.
Okay, I was just curious what that looked like, so. Okay, I did prepare with, it written out, so bear with me for just a moment, please. And I do understand that I did not get off work in time to join the, planning session, so if some of what I say is redundant to what you've already discussed, I apologize, but, I think that my input here is valuable for the record. So, regarding my name is Carly Ruby, and I have 2 students in the district. Regarding the cell phone ban policy that has been proposed, I just want to know that this is still a proposed policy, yet it is already being imposed on our students, despite the fact that it is not officially passed. And this is an issue for me because last year, my daughter was barred from calling me for over an hour after sustaining a head injury from another student by staff. And I know that she is not the only student whose communication has been interfered with by staff during a time of need. Parents deserve peace of mind that in times of need our children can reach us or we can reach them. The right to communicate becomes even more important when we remember that there's been multiple hit lists at the middle school level last year that were poorly communicated to families, as well as a lockdown at the high school that did not also elicit a lockdown at the elementary school right next door. I only learned about that lockdown from reading it on Facebook groups. Parents should not be left in the dark when their children are unable to call home. And while I acknowledge that cell phones are an extreme distraction in the classroom, they are also a vital tool for safety and advocacy by themselves, the students. There are balanced approaches, for example, requiring phones be placed in holders at the front of the room during lessons, but allowing access at lunch, while on field trips, or in cases of emergency or distress. And while I understand that prohibiting students from recording or taking photos in locker rooms and restrooms is logical and necessary, we should also be teaching our youth that recording in public spaces is completely legal and very common in the real world, so that they are prepared for that reality when they leave our campuses. Adults are expected to act appropriately when they know that they may be recorded. Why are we not preparing our students for the same? We say that we are trying to prepare our children for the real world. Well, in the real world, we go to work and we sometimes check our phones or our emails. We send a quick reminder to ask family members a question like, hey, can you take out meat for dinner? I myself am a victim of not taking the meat out for dinner and my parents coming home and realizing that. We can also say, hey, I forgot something, can you please bring it to me? While students are still kids and technology can be a distraction, regulating communication between parents and their children should not be a school policy. Furthermore,
Mrs. Ruby, excuse me, that was 3 minutes, so I need to ask the board if they want her to go on, we need the consensus. Should we do?
Yeah.
Okay, alright, please continue.
how long do I have?
How much do you have?
About another minute and a half.
Oh,
That's fine.
You're fine.
Sorry, I lost my spot. Hopefully this isn't counting against me. While students are still kids and technology can be a distraction, regulating communication between parents and their children should not be school policy. And what will happen when our students do leave the district and enter college? They will have free reign. They will suddenly no longer be policed by their educators. How will they be prepared for how cell phones or other technology required in class may be used to affect their education as well as the consequences that come with it? I for one think that these consequences should be smaller at this level rather than what's going to come in college. Finally, I want to note that during my last public comment in July, some board members were visibly seen texting or emailing while I was speaking. If even elected officials cannot completely disengage from their phones during important discussions, it seems extremely unreasonable to expect students to do so under all circumstances every day. I urge the board to reconsider this policy and prioritize student safety as well as parental access and accountability, while being mindful of how to teach students to prepare for the real world expectations and consequences. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will be talking about that further down in. Okay, alright, we are moving on to the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion.
the public hearing,
I
aren't you?
think you're to number 7.
Sorry, I was on the wrong page, I apologize. Sorry,
That's
2
okay.
different pages here, thank you guys for keeping me in. Okay,
You know,
so.
we've never been wrong, you know.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to recess the regular board meeting, convene the public hearing on the firearms rule.
I'm sure.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the recess of the regular board meeting, convene to public hearing on policy CKA firearms.
I would second that.
Alright, all those any discussion? Okay, all those in favor to approve the recess of the regular board meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Should have said rule instead of policy.
Okay.
And if anybody opposed, say no. Alright, so now we are in our public hearing on the firearms rule. This was, obviously we talked about it a little bit in the workshop. The rule said we had to post what we thought we wanted to come up with our regulation rule. And then 45 days later, we would have a public comment period. This is our public hearing and comment period, so. We had a lot of good discussion in the workshop.
Anything you want reiterated too, because maybe someone wouldn't watch the workshop, I don't know.
We were on the internet.
And we were without, so it might be
Yeah,
worth
so
a little bit of.
Might be good to hit the highlights again, everybody, so anybody wanna?
I guess I'll start, I'm in favor of training. I'm not in favor of making them pay for it. So I would like to just look at our options on, I think especially scenario training is really good.
Want to just kind of give a review?
Here's what I think. I don't think this is our public comment. This is really for the public to make comments and for us to consider their comments. And obviously, when we reach the point when we wanna vote on it, we can have that discussion.
Okay.
And I think to be fair to the public, it's really their time to tell us under the rulemaking, what they think.
Okay.
Anybody wanna reiterate what they said, Mr. Reed? We had lots of conversations. I can recap it if you'd like.
I don't mind. Renee.
You're fine.
For me, again, as a parent, I feel safer with my kids being around adults that I trust with guns. So, I think it's a good thing. The second thing I said was I really have no problem with training. I'm a huge advocate for training, and I truly believe that if you're requesting it of us, that you help us cover it. We said a driver's license, which is, I get that, but that's a one-time thing. I went through the courses, I have that same license, so why do I have to keep redoing the license? Like, and then I guess for me also the same thing goes with what training do you want me to get, because like I've done long range shooting, I've done tactical training, I've done, you name it, I've done through all sorts of different ones. What do you want me to get? And so that's just kind of where I sit is either help us get the training or don't put stipulations on it that make it so hard to get it.
I have a question for you. It sounds like you work in the district. I'm not familiar with your position, but obviously you have a different relationship with staff than the one that I just expressed. My trust has been broken by the staff that are in charge of my children. How am I supposed to feel about that when I know that they're already not following training and they're already disregarding the rules that have been in place? And then to move forward, you're going to have an escalation point of a deadly weapon.
As a parent, because I'd rather my answer is that than a staff member.
Sure.
I've had nothing but good interactions with every teacher that we've had through the district, so I trust every teacher we have. And there's always going to be some stuff that shows up, but the truth of the matter is most of your teachers aren't gonna pack. They're not going to wanna take on that responsibility, because anyone that actually packs and trains knows that to be put into that situation, like it's not gonna just happen naturally. So realistically, you're not even talking that many teachers that are gonna pack. In my opinion, I think you're gonna run into most teachers that are just like you're gonna get the ones that actually take it responsibly and train and do it. I think are to be the ones that are actually going to do it. I don't think it's just to be everybody free for all. Oh, I can, so I'm going to. And so I don't know. For me, I go back to if I go to a basketball game and we might say, oh well, it's open, free or gun free. Sorry. Now that it's not a gun free zone, the truth of the matter is anyone who's legal, like I don't pack where I couldn't pack. But the truth of the matter is there were people packing in that gym all the time. Like, so all you're doing is now putting more stipulations on people that will actually step into places to do protecting. Like, I don't, that's just my 2 cents. I trust every teacher we have. I've never had a bad encounter, so I can't speak into that.
Mr. McKee, you had some good points. Would you mind sharing those again?
I just felt like there's some contradictory things that we have in policy where we do trainings and are very powerless in some situations, and now we're saying that there wouldn't be training if we don't have some or possibly not having training, and so it seems like training would be a bare minimum of an idea to require of teachers if you're going to allow it, or if it's there. Something along those lines.
But it's not just teachers, this is staff.
And volunteers.
Staff and volunteers, so it would apply to parents who volunteer in the classroom as well, or public members.
When you say training, what exactly are you meaning by that? Are you meaning like just a hunter safety training, or is there something more?
Situational live fire.
So with our policy here, and this will kind of address a question that was brought up earlier. There's a fine line with how we can detail what training we require. Now, the recommendation from our attorney was a policy that they recommend for most schools, or I should say policy, a rule. Cause this isn't a policy, it's a set of rules. With that, it said 16 hours of live fire handgun training and 8 hours of scenario-based training. Now, if we get down into, we're gonna make you go to a certain place at a certain time and do a certain training, where does our liability fall as a district? That's why it's not specifically listed out in here. It's just saying that you need to get training that you learn how to use your weapon and you learn what it means to have that weapon. And that's where the fine lines come in, and I know it was mentioned about paying for that training. Again, another fine line, because if we pay for it and something happens and it goes completely haywire and wrong, now what liability do we fall under with that? Because we said that you gotta do this and that to a specific point and we paid for it. Now it's assuming a full other responsibility and liability that's beyond what even the law says. So that's the worst part of this, is that, as Doug has mentioned, it was put on to us to figure this out. And now we're here figuring it out. And what is the right amount, who knows? Laramie County, or was it Albany County, went with what, 60 hours of training or something crazy like that? That's pretty much making a clear statement. Most people aren't gonna do that. Which is where the 16 hours and the 8 hours fall in. It's not an unattainable amount. And it's enough to get you started anyway. We had 2 law enforcement officers when we started this conversation come in and discuss this with us. And in their mind, there was no amount of training that was enough to cover what this responsibility would look like. And I can't say I don't disagree with that, because I wouldn't ever wanna be put in that situation, even if I was trained to be in that situation. So with that, here we are with this of what was the recommendation, and this was it. A lot of it's liability. Because where does the fine line of liability fall into this? Obviously, we now have the liability because the legislature says we do. So this set of rules really is just to try and guide this the right direction. And I look at it like CPR first aid training. I know that'll contradict the cost aspect of this. But the more we're CPR first aid trained, the more it's natural reaction just to do certain things. That's how I see this training. CPR first aid, who all here has taken CPR first aid and done it many years in a row? We all know exactly the rhythm to carry to get the chest compressions right, correct? That's one thing we can all look back at. You know exactly that rhythm. You all seen the Office video that's hilarious and we all laugh at it, but it's true. It's real. We've made it real. And unfortunately, the world we live in, this is way too real. It's a really unfortunate thing that this is even being discussed in our schools. But as far as I'm concerned, any amount of training isn't enough. And this is how I think we need to go about this, because at least you've set a foundation. What happens with it beyond that, I don't know. But at least there's something more than just, okay, you put a concealed weapon on you today and walked into school. And I know that contradicts people coming in off the street and everything else, but as I said before, and I'll say it again, when we have teachers that we rely on to educate our kids, this is an added thing that they're not trained for. No one really is trained for it besides law enforcement. So now we have a whole different conundrum, and that's what this set of rules is attempting to guide. And maybe that's my opinion, and it's not seen that way by everybody else, but in my mind, at least we have a guide. And at least if we have a guide, maybe we can make something a lot better should something really bad happen.
So just to condense, the proposed rule for the initial training is comprised of not less than 16 hours of live fire handgun training and 8 hours of scenario-based training. And then thereafter, there would be at least 12 years
12 hours.
12 hours, 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Dedication.
Man, I'm struggling. Training of not less than 12 hours each year. So there would be continuous training too, this would continue to go. And I'm just gonna back up a little bit, and so yes, the legislature, when they did away with the gun-free zones, that gives us two options. School districts have two options. We can do nothing and let the concealed carry rule as it stands now. People who have a concealed carry can carry their gun, no matter what. That's option one. Option two is to have a rule in place to at least have our teacher or our staff do some kind of training. Those are our only two options. So tonight, as we're discussing this, the amount of hours can change, the different things like that can change, but we either have no rule and the concealed carry as it stands throughout the state would apply, or we have the proposed rule as we talk now. So just to clarify, that's where we're at. Any other discussion?
So what's the consequence if you guys do vote to have this rule be in effect? Obviously, it's fine with the state that educators have firearms on campus, but what if an educator doesn't go through this training and they still bring a gun to campus? What happens then?
There is something about that in here.
There would be some type of discipline towards that staff member.
What does that look like?
Kind of depends on the staff member,
Okay.
classified or certified, there's a lot of components to that.
And it would say, it's not in here, but it would, because part of the purpose of having a concealed carry is that nobody knows that you're carrying a gun. So who do they give this to? We had that discussion too, and the superintendent would be the only one in the district that would know who was actually carrying. So those that chose to do this, if we do the rule, would report to Mr. Weigel.
So what is the expectation for staff who carry? Like, you wanna have your gun, you wanna carry it, you wanna bring it to work with you. And I assume that it's for protection. So is it wrong to assume that I expect you to protect my kid should this situation arise? Like, what's the expectation for carrying?
Hopefully diffuse a situation would be ideal, right?
But you don't have to have a gun to do that.
Pardon?
You don't have to have a gun to do that.
What if a bad guy has a gun, it's better for good guys
But that's what I'm
to
saying, like, so should I assume, if you're a teacher in my kid's classroom and somebody comes in?
Yeah.
Can I assume you're gonna protect them? And what happens if you don't?
That has to be their own personal, that has to be a personal decision on themselves. Like he's
That's the
saying,
training I
that's,
think that we need.
Sure. Yeah. In that
Is
it's gonna be a
situation.
personal decision.
going
Well,
hunting, defending yourself in your own home is completely different than defending yourself against possibly one of your students or their parents or.
And hopefully you could talk someone down with or without a gun, that would be your goal, wouldn't it?
I think there's also been cases where that does put the onus on the teacher. If you're a concealed carry and have gone through some of this, at least that you have an expectation that you are supposed to go to those places, which puts you in a difficult position. Am I carrying my class that I'm in charge of? Am I supposed to go and get them to safety and then go back to and try and diffuse the situation? And if I don't do that, am I liable for not responding?
Mr. McKee, I think that's where that situational training comes in, is that if you don't have that, then they may panic and say, I'm gonna go check that out, and then he leaves his students in the classroom alone. And that situational training should take care of that. And that's where I see that in play, is that if you're gonna do this and have concealed carry, that training and that situational training. And I'll be honest with you. Very few of us, if any of us, if somebody came in, would have the ability to shoot at that person. That's just innate common sense, and most people can't do it. If you ask people that went to Vietnam and those places, it's hard to do that. It's just hard to shoot at somebody. And so, that's where you need that training and stuff, so that's where I stand on it. But this is really for the public's comment.
I have a question, and I didn't think of it earlier in the workshop, it just honestly just now came to me. We talk about being mandatory reporters, so if I am in a classroom and I see that there's a volunteer there and, you know, they bend over to help a student and I can see they're concealed. My question is then am I required as an employee to go report that and say, to Mr. Weigel or to Mr. Schaffer if I'm volunteering in his building or whatever, am I now responsible and to report that I see an individual and check on that certification?
I believe if he does that, it's no longer a concealed weapon. Concealed means none of that should happen. It's supposed to be concealed. Or I think in the rule that we proposed, it better be in a box that's locked down. Biometric box. So I think if it shows up and it's no longer concealed when they bend over,
So then I am responsible to go report that?
I think I would at least tell the superintendent, this person has it. I just want you to know, and then he can take whatever action the superintendent.
It's not really required, it's not like, you know, if there's child abuse suspicions.
Right.
No,
It's not like the mandatory reporter like you're thinking about.
Yeah.
But I think just to make sure kids are safe, you would let the principal know, they would probably let me know, we'd probably call law enforcement and say we have a situation here where we have an open carry situation where we have view of a gun in school and they're gonna address that. That's how I would handle it.
I mean, cause I'm not saying that they're they don't have the proper licensure, I'm sure that they have handed it in to Mr. Weigel, or I hope that they have, but I just didn't know, like, where does the responsibility, for you as an individual to report that, where does that lie?
And this doesn't say they have to be in a box, it says it could be on their person or in a box.
right,
Right.
but when you conceal it, you can't bend over and show it to the world.
That was a good question, though, the expectation, you know, my thought is, if you're gonna carry a gun, then you have the expectation.
My thought is if we're gonna pay for your training and you're gonna insist on bringing a weapon to school, then my expectation as a parent is that you're gonna protect my kid should the need arise.
And that's, we aren't gonna pay for the training, that's the one thing with this, and that's that gray area of liability, that if we start paying for all this and something goes terribly wrong, now we have a terribly worse situation than what we already have.
I worry about that too, like Jamie said, if somebody, you know, bends over and you see that they're carrying, anybody could see that, any one of our 250 students at the high school could see that, any one of our curious little kids could see that, and if they get a hold of something like that, we could have an accident.
Any further public comment, anybody else wanna share anything? Even if you've shared it before, remember the workshop was not recorded, we didn't have internet then, so. You're only repeating yourself.
It was recorded, wasn't it?
Oh, it was, okay, sorry, I misunderstood that.
Same, I thought it was, the internet was slow.
I had a workaround.
Oh, perfect, he's a.
One more question. So if the purpose of it to be concealed is that the only person that really knows or would need to know would be Mr. Weigel, is there an expectation that he would understand or know how many firearms are on a given campus each day? So like each day they come in and they say, yes, I have it, or no, I don't? Or is it just completely, it can be nobody on campus has a single firearm or everybody on campus is
I think that's just right. So for the public, if you have a concealed weapon permit, you can come in and do this currently into schools. So you don't have to check in and say, I have it, I don't have it. So that's one area. And then the other one would be, they would let me know, so it wouldn't be every day they were carrying, but they met the requirements. They would show me the certificate of training, and they would be eligible to take that concealed weapon into the school property.
But you won't necessarily know if, like say, the principal or whoever they won't have to keep track of what days they do or don't.
Correct.
The biggest thing with the notification, and I'll throw this out there, is that if John knows, then our police department, our sheriff's department will know that as well, because if we came into an active shooter situation, there would have to be some knowledge of the potential people that they have to look out for, because that's the other problem with this in general, is that now you've opened Pandora's box for who is the issue and who is not the issue. And that was a concern brought up by our law enforcement, was now we have to slow down and make sure that we aren't doing something to someone that's not the problem. So again, another issue with this whole thing is we've created more than one problem with one allowance.
I have a question that's real quick, that's kind of a rabbit hole. Remember the scenario that you had the video up with Miss Shaw laying on the floor and I said she had a life alert button?
Mhm.
Was that the Raptor system?
No, that's the IO enhancement safety system, safe alert.
I couldn't remember what part it was.
Other comments? Any comments from the board? Okay, we will discuss this further down in our action items, so if there's no more comments, last call.
Do you need a motion to cover everything? I would make a motion to reconvene the comment section, public comment section of this meeting.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the recess of the public hearing and reconvene the regular board meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor to approve the recess of public hearing and reconvene the regular board meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Okay. All right, now we will go on to item 7,
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
6. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, any discussion or questions on the consent agenda? All those in favor to approve the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? So with that, we will move on to our reports, starting with our superintendent report.
Yeah, so this is a month where you do talk about accreditation, so there's 3 different areas. You can be fully accredited, you can be accredited with support, or you can be a non-accredited status or district. So through information we provide to the Wyoming Department of Education, we are fully accredited in the district. We also went through a peer review last year, but that doesn't really lead towards your accreditation. It's really information that they require from us. It's links to documents, links to evidence and things that we have to be following. You have to have 80% or better to be accredited, and I think we were at 96% this last year. So some of those we try to clear up, some of them, there's some curriculum things we can probably get a better score, but we're pretty highly ranked in terms of the things we're meeting for accreditation, so fully accredited in terms of the district.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
In terms of the goals, I think we talked a little bit about this before. So I have like 4 different goals for this year. The first one would be clear and consistent focus on maximizing the learning of and growth of all students. So kind of a bullet point below that would be the multi-tiered system of support for academic and behavior. What that means is, we talked about this at our administrative team meeting, district leadership, where we wanna make sure kids are successful academically and behaviorally. We wanna make sure kids are all instructed at grade level content, and then some kids need something more than that, right? So after you first initially teach something, some students aren't gaining that information or aren't really understanding that, so they need more, maybe more time, a different way to teach. The next phase would be, not only do they need more, some kids even need more than that, and that could be special education, it could be title support, some of those things. So in academic and behavior, we're really focusing on that, those multi-tiers. And some of that has to do with what our schedules look like, so we have that intervention time. But that's kind of the overall philosophy to improve student learning and to improve behaviors. So that's one of the main goals. We'll continue to talk through that every month during our meetings. The next goal would be instructional and assessment leadership. We do have district level staff who are going to provide some curriculum work in fine and performing arts. We're gonna have it in PE, health and safety, and in computer science. Those are the three content areas that district level teams are going to be mapping out those content standards and providing pacing guides to the district. We're also gonna choose as a district school leader, one area of our instructional framework to highlight each month with our staff. So we have a district framework, it has research-based strategies, and we're gonna focus on one strategy a month in each building. And hopefully through that PLC work, they might even bring some of those strategies up. One of the first ones is making positive connections with our students, right? A positive learning environment, that starts day one of school, right? Kids feel connected, they feel that connectivity with that teacher, that's a big one. So those are some of the, I guess, ways we're going to try to hit that goal in terms of instruction. The other one we talked about as a group, developing and supporting a learning organization, and that really falls in that PLC professional learning communities. Our first day, I shared this with the school board in terms of the evaluation of our first day in service was very positive. We're learning that we can make a big difference with students if we work collaboratively, if we have those common formative assessments, and it really fits into that MTSS structure, right? As we're talking about kids and how they're performing, we're also sharing what's working and what's not working with certain students. And we don't just wanna work with the kids who aren't getting it, we wanna push or extend the learning for the students who are getting it. So that kind of all goes hand in hand together. And the last goal for this year would be communication and community engagement, and that's just being available to staff, being available to stakeholders. Call me, email me, we'll set up a meeting. We might disagree on some things, but I'm willing to meet, my door's open for staff and to stakeholders, including parents. So that's kind of the 4 goals I have for this year.
Great.
Could I ask a question, just cause
Yeah.
maybe too dumb to understand it? On number 15, you talk about promote effective use of technology, and then down below you say measure professional development using AI in the classroom. What do you mean by that, so I understand?
Yeah, so part of our professional learning at the beginning of the year was how to utilize technology specifically with AI. How can you leverage that as a teacher? How can you teach students about it? We also talked about that matrix. When I'm a teacher, I have to identify how much AI are you going to allow the student to use. So that technology integration, we feel like AI has some very powerful tools, but we didn't have the knowledge to really use that as a tool electronically. So that's why we had that at the beginning of the year for all of our staff.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah. And Ryan was part of that when we developed that. And I think we had one school specifically last year that really was upset with how kids were using it. So it was pretty evident that was some professional development that would be from our earliest learners all the way through high school. So it was pretty relevant in terms of the entire district. That's the hard part about, district-wide PD, it's hard to make it relevant. But we think the professional learning communities and the AI was very relevant to all staff. So. Let's see, so next, I think we have the financial report, Ms. Janie Wilson.
Good evening, members of the board. Tonight my presentation is going to be mainly focused around a podcast that has been circulating via Facebook or other internet sources in regards to the 8.5 ECA. Plat 1, they are attacking school districts, saying that we did not give the accurate amount to teachers or to all of our staff in regards to the 8.5% raise. I will say as the Wyoming, as part of the Wyoming State Business Officials Association, we did reach out to them as a collective group, asking them to allow us to make a comment and to be a part of their discussion on their podcast, and they have declined us to participate in the podcast with them. We haven't heard anything, so I would say that is a decline. at this time. So I wanted to address it that the 8.5% is not supposed to be on top of what Plat 1 already pays. It is off of the model salary. So the model salary with the 8.5% ECA brings the model salary to $44,108 per staff member. Currently, Platte County School District number 1, a starting teacher's wage is $50,643. So we are currently above the model salary by $6,000.
Can you repeat that just a little louder?
Yes, the model salary. The 8.5% is not off of Plat 1's salary base. It is off the model salary that they fund school districts at. The model salary is now $44,108 and Platte County starts at $50,643, which is $6,535 above the model salary. I also wanted to note that we still are in the middle of our debacle with the state as far as our funding goes. We truly don't know what that's looking like. We're still going through data validation. I will say that when we went into negotiations and started talking about what does that mean for Platte County School District, that was back in April. We were anticipating that our EC amount was gonna be $415,000. And what Plat 1 decided to do with that money, there was administration, board members, teachers in the association, all present at this meeting. And we decided that out of the $415,000, all of it went to staff. We had steps and lanes for $64,000. The insurance increase was gonna cost the district $125,000. Salary schedule increase was $47,000. The classified salary increase was $98,000. Administration, $18,000. The steps for administration, $16,000. Coaches were gonna get 3% at $13,000, and we also increased our sub rate, and that cost us $34,000. So I think as a district, Plat 1 did everything we could to help support our staff financially. So, yep, be happy to address any questions.
So Jim, when you add all those up, the amount that we looked at in terms of the ECA amount, how do we do in terms of the final dollar, meeting that same amount of money?
Exact same,
Okay.
$415,000 is what that all equated to.
That's what I thought when we worked that all out, so
Yep.
perfect, thank you.
That was a good one.
And when we met, because I think I was on that committee and Clay, and the teachers and everybody collaborated. I mean, it wasn't a mean-spirited thing, it was, we worked through it, and sometimes you have tense moments, but nobody went away mad at each other. It was just a good way to just get rid of the $412,000, I guess.
Well, and there was some things with that, I will note that we had to back down on because it was funded by the tax that has been cut on property. So there were some things that had to be backed down, unfortunately, but that was part of it. It's a give and take situation, we could give only what we had, $415,000, and there was some that had to go away, so. If anybody has an issue with that, contact your legislator and ask them why the tax went down, so.
I wouldn't say go away, I would say it was negotiations and it was negotiated.
It was, but we still had to lower some amounts that were dished out for certain things, so. Unfortunately, there were some hits that had to happen, so that was that.
So was it clear that this 8.5% was required with the funding? Was that clear to you? Did you know? I know that it didn't necessarily apply because we were already above the model salary. I understand all that, but was that really clear to you or was that kind of hidden?
I think districts had an option to use that or not to use it. We put it towards our staff in terms of salary and benefits. So even though they give you an ECA, they don't tell you have to use those funds for those reasons. Some districts didn't provide any raises, some probably went beyond what we were able to do.
Sure. I'm understanding that the increase in the funding was specifically ear tag for 8.5%. Supposedly was
I mean, I think that that's their intention, however, that's the point of you guys, is you guys get to decide how that is truly used.
Because it's a block or a block, yeah, I understand this. But the increase was argued in the legislature for the 8.5%, knowing that the teachers needed to get.
That was based on the dollar figure that they used, whatever, how much was that? 37,000, that was based on that low dollar figure they anticipated to give everybody an 8.5.
And that's what I
Exactly.
think, you know, with the podcast is they didn't portray that piece of it.
Yes.
They
Right.
said that these districts did not offer the 8.5. Well, we're already over the model, so
Yeah.
we already were going above the 8.
Are we 8.5% from the model or?
We're way above.
We're way, yeah, cause
Yeah.
we're,
Okay,
yes.
alright, good.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, Mrs. Wilson.
So next we have our principals, we'll talk a little bit about enrollment and those accountability performance ratings, so.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll follow you.
Tom and Shane are kind of together, so you wanna do it?
Yeah, we are
together?
kind of.
There we go. I'll start out with the little part.
We need your matching suits, one of you guys be wearing one color, the other one the
I don't have socks that long.
That you wear with sandals?
No. I'm starting out that way.
Neighbors.
Awesome, right off the bat.
Enrollment, our enrollment from last year is down about 5, we've got 185 kids at Libby right now. As far as accountability goes, Mr. Waring takes all of the state tests, as far as that goes, we get them ready, we prepare them K through 2. And then when they hit 3rd grade, that's the first time they get the YCOP. And then that carries through, and then that's what comes down on our accountability ratings. So along those lines at Libby, we don't take those tests, but we use our fast bridge tests for universal screeners 3 times a year to know where kids are, and then we use our common formative assessments to know where kids are from unit to unit in reading and math, and make sure that we have them on track to be successful when they hit 3rd grade or high school. Any questions about that?
And so is there gonna be any more interventions, you know, we were talking about, you know, your goal, or maybe in the future there might be more interventions for those that aren't able to keep up?
Yeah, so we're pretty deep in the PLC process at Libby, for sure, so for instance, like last year, we started giving kids like a 3rd dip of math, so they got their tier 1 instruction where everybody's getting it. And then we designated time for an extra 20 minutes where we're gonna make sure that if they're not getting today's content, they'll get a time later on today or tomorrow to help learn that, or we'll enrich for those other kids. And then we have kids that are below grade level, and they get a half hour a day for that as well. So we continue to give them more opportunities to be successful, not just on, you know, if it's a 2nd grader, we're not just filling the gaps that they missed in 1st grade. We're trying to make sure that they get today's material in 2nd grade, so they're prepared for 3rd grade as well. So that was probably one of the bigger changes we made last year. I think we reported on that at one point when we came in and talked, and that's where like the 2nd grade, they started. It was over probably about a 5-week session where, in 2 units, but they went from like 52% of the kids were proficient on the tier 1 content to 98% of them were proficient. So we're seeing pretty good gains there. And we had a new math program last year, so we kind of we've redone all of our common assessments in there and kind of stripped away some other things and just really focused on the new curriculum materials. And then as we've done that, I think that's helped kind of, and the priority standards from the state, it's focused what we teach. So it didn't look like years past. There's things that we're not doing that aren't required by the state, they're not the priorities. So what we're doing is we're making sure that kids know the priority standards, we're assessing them and trying to make sure they're proficient in those. We do it in the LA as well, yes, and the state's in the process of updating that priority standards, so we'll
go through that for one thing next year as well. ELA, we've done it forever really well, in my opinion as well.
So everyone know what ELA is?
English language arts. Some of you might forget it. And that's pretty much the two content areas we hit on. That's 99% of our focus. We have science that is a priority and social studies, not priority standards.
Thanks. Tom?
Now for the long way.
Not the long way in. I have more information. So I'll start with Glendale actually, and then I'll come back to West. So Glendo's enrollment this year is up to 32 students. That's up 4 or 5 from last year. And then West is actually down about 10 from last year. So I think we had a couple go from West out to Glendale this last year, and it's been steadily going down since I've been here. I think my first year we had 216, and now we're at 179 at West, so we just need to figure out how to get more people in town, I guess. And then on top of that, I have my school improvement plan, overall performance stuff from White Top this year. So the easiest one or the hardest one, depending on how you look at it, is Glendale Junior High. Last year they were under review because the state doesn't have enough data to go off of because there's not enough students. And this year they are under review because they don't have enough students to have enough data to go off of. I think the reason they do under review is because they don't want to show scores from individual students. When you have one student in a grade level and that comes back and says, oh, you didn't meet it, then it comes straight to that student. So they just put it under review. They never give us any information on that, ever. So it just says under review, and I don't know if they ever talked to you, but they've never sent me anything on under review. When I was in Chugwater, same thing when we had small classes. They do under review and then I'd never hear another thing from the state, so I assume that's what's gonna happen again. Glendale Elementary stayed pretty much where they are, or where we were last year. We're at partially meeting the expectations, so we wanna get to the next level. There's 4 things that the state looks at, and Glendale only qualifies for 2 due to the student population. So along with West Elementary, our achievement is really good, but now we gotta start working on the growth. So our growth stayed about the same at Glendale as it was last year, and now we just instituted some PLC stuff last year and more intervention times, so we've only been doing that for a year. So that hopefully is where that growth will come from. Growth went down by a point, achievement went up by a point, so they stayed pretty status quo as to where they were last year. I will meet with them and talk about ways to improve that growth, which is what I've been doing at West this year also. So West has 200 kids or 180 this year. So we're at the same thing over at West in partially meeting. Achievement went up, growth went down a couple points, and then the equity and the ELA progress, or EL progress, so for our English second language students, we went way up at West by like 10 points. We were already above average there, and now we're way above average, so it's like to that exceeding expectations type place. But the 2 that we look at the most are achievement and growth. Now, one of the things that we talked about, along with how Shane does it, over at Libby is we have, I think I talked about this last year when we rebuilt the schedule, is we have specific intervention times where the kids get regrouped and then split up into small groups depending on where they are on that specific standard. We also keep track of the standards when we test, And then after we reteach and we retest to see how far that percentage goes up for each standard of how many kids. So if we get, 40% when we do a first test, we hope to get 90 after we've retaught it in our small groupings to come back in and get those students back up. So that's what we're looking for in the growth. The biggest discussion that we had last week about our growth was things that we can't change, unfortunately. We have about 20-ish students that are in and out of our population every year. So we get kids that move in that didn't have Libby to grow from. They come in in, January, and so we've had 2 months with them, and then they have to test. So one of the things we've talked about is trying to figure out if we can put the kids that are here, like K4, into groups and see what their growth looks like versus our move-in, move-outs. And I know that's a hard thing to figure out, because anyone that comes in, we want them to grow.
Sure.
But it's just harder to get that growth when they haven't had our teaching. So that's one of the things that they talked about most, and how do we get the kids that are moving in that don't have our teachers for years and years, how do we get them to move? Because I feel like we have great teachers all the way through, so, but unfortunately, not all kids get to come here. So, that's what we're looking at, partially meeting right now. Our goal, of course, is to get to that meeting the expectations for the performance standards for the end of the year, or for coming into next year, so. Anything else? Good, thank you.
Josh and Troy?
Yeah, Troy, you at the very end, I think.
Might as well come up, but I got very much.
Once you go to middle school, I guess you don't have the buddy system anymore.
I know, I'm on my own.
Oh, he's got a buddy.
He's walked out here. He's coming up here. I've got the report, but he's got some other information. Good evening, we'll start with the middle school. The current middle school enrollment is 178, and comparing that to last year, on the accountability, we had 192, so we're down about 14 kids total. The middle school for last year was partially meeting expectations, and in that, we're kind of flip-flopped from Mr. Waring and West Elementary. We're below target for achievement, so that achievement is how you actually perform on the group of tests in YTOP. So we're a little bit below the cut score to meet that target. We're meeting target in growth and equity, and then we're a little bit below target for supporting our English language learners. So there's about 10 of those students, so that data set actually populated for Wheatland Middle School. It was high enough that it would populate and count for that score. So some of the things that we're already working on, I redid the schedule a little bit, the bell schedule, so we could add some wood sections and kind of squeeze in our win time. I had a group meet last week to see what we could do more to support with true interventions. We've had all sorts of different things in our schedule, even at the high school, blue and gold, win time. It's really hard at the secondary level to put in those extra interventions because of the schedule. And so they met to give me some feedback on, I kind of threw out a modified schedule to kind of group that win time back together, but I want to use it appropriately. And looking at our missing assignments, looking at what we'll have in the next couple of weeks with our data on our common formative assessments, identifying students that need that extra support, and how can we adjust our teachers so we can get our math and ELA teachers with those kids so they can do some targeted interventions with them in that time. Still allows us for the 2 wood sections to go back and forth across town, but really trying to focus on some true intervention time with our middle school kiddos. Peak High School.
Hey Josh, can you talk a little bit about eliminating some of the testing that wasn't
Oh
required?
yeah, I was gonna talk about that too. So meeting with kind of the traditional core area teachers, math, science, English, social studies, You know, one of the things that I noticed right away was just the amount of testing that the middle school was doing. They were doing the fall, Y-top interim testing, they were doing the fall map testing, they were doing the same set of tests in the winter, the same set of tests in the spring. Of course, the spring summative is required. And so we just talked about it and we're just like, we cut out the fall testing, to allow teachers just time with their kids to build skills. So we'll do the winter interim tests, because we still believe that kids need to see the test before they take it, for Y-top, and then they'll do the map testing. So we'll have winter and spring data, for our group of kids, but we just felt like taking some of that other testing out so we can actually just teach, was appropriate going for this year, so.
So with that, how do you set your baseline for your Y-top, your final Y-top test then? Cause if
So
you
we
don't know
have
where you
this-
need to improve, if you're not taking that test, I'm not saying that you need to take it, just how do you navigate that so that you're building the right content areas to get that where it needs to be at the end
Yeah,
of
so a
the
couple
line?
things, so we've got spring data on all of our students, so we'll have spring to spring. We'll also have we'll have a winter score, so if students we need extra support, we'll be able to identify that between, you know, like December and May, when we take the winter interim to the spring summative.
Okay.
The important piece though is that we're using our common formative assessments. Those shorter timeframes are much more important than a one snapshot test. So we're gonna focus on that data, we're gonna focus on work completion and building skills to make sure that because we're trying to get our achievement score up. We want that raw score of achievement, while we're keeping the others, so.
Yeah, so we just did in this section on algebra, we're gonna test it right here at the end of the week and
Yep.
see if you retained anything
Yep.
from it or what we need to work on.
And what are we
for
doing for
next
kids
year.
that knew it, what are we doing for kids that didn't know?
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good,
So,
Yeah,
perfect.
that's
Okay.
smart.
Peak High School, current enrollment is 17, we hover around that number, this data shows 16 last year. We've been as high as 21, 22. Keep in mind, we've got students that are full-time peak, which they have all 7 periods there, but to count them as a peak student, they have to have a minimum of 4 classes. So that could be, you know, we've got kids that have 4, they have 5, they have 6 or 7, depending on the needs. But Peak High School is under review, that's their code. Couple of the areas, we are meeting target in growth, so that was good. We're below target in graduation, which is the entire purpose of an alternative school, is to move kids towards graduation and trying to get them to cross that finish line. Another one that I'm pretty proud of is our post-secondary readiness, we're exceeding target. You know, as I've talked the past several years, that's one of our focuses through whether it's being a concentrator in a CTE area, taking a college level course with a passing score, or having a high enough score on the ASVAB. So pretty proud of that post-secondary readiness score. The other one we're working on is credits earned. You gotta earn your credits before you graduate, so those two are tied together. So we're still working on that. And then, alternative schools are required to take a school climate survey in the fall and in the spring. And we are meeting that target, with that climate score, from last year.
Do you get any feedback on back to middle school, you get any feedback on your announcements you send out? Cause I enjoy reading them, I don't know if anybody else does, and like, you know, but I like the little quotes too,
Yeah, I'm hoping
Enjoy
parents, you know, I don't know what has happened in the past at the middle school level, but I felt that was an important piece. You know, bringing that's something that I did at the high school level and sharing that with the parents, and so now all the parents and students get that email. Board members, Mr. Weigel, you all get the same email, you can see what's going on. What we've done is, Jess is great, she's
printed it off and posted it out front, so when our parents sign kids in and out, it's right there, so if they wanna see it there, it's on the TVs, and then it's also on PowerSchool. If you have the PowerSchool app, you can actually see the link from there, so just trying to communicate a little bit, of what we're doing, and then still has the, the target, the links for the activities. Doesn't have the scholarship link on the middle school one quite yet, but hopefully that's something Mr. Lake and Mr. Buckhammer, are taking care of. So,
Thanks. Hey Josh, did you change your title on one of those?
Yes, you
You did?
I did, yeah, I could,
Perfect.
last year I changed the high school one, to the Bark, which was the old school newspaper, which was, a little nostalgia there for some people. And I couldn't bring myself to use that at the middle school, I figured I had to change it, so we just called it the Doghouse News. So just something to grab people's eye, to just take a quick look at it. And, but I enjoy putting that out every week, and we're also working, I'm going through, the 7 habits of highly effective teens. So hopefully, parents and kids can have a chat about that stuff too, so that's 7 weeks and we're over halfway through already, so. And then hopefully I'll find something else, maybe throw in. Alright, Wheatland High School, Mr. Lake, enrollment last year on the accountability was 258.
Yeah, we are at the beginning of the year 225, so 34 down. That obviously was part of the decision for some of the staffing where we've reduced a couple teachers. And that has impacted to a degree some of the flexibility with what kids can do and when. So that's just the natural thing when you're losing numbers that rapidly. So, that's all the data I have, that's what I was supposed to talk about, so.
And just remember, we graduated the largest class in the district last year.
Right.
And so then we're bringing in a little bit smaller class, but hopefully our numbers start to level out. If we can stay between 60 and 70, that'd be great. If we can get more, that's even better, so. As far as accountability for Wheatland High School is meeting expectations, last year. Meeting target in achievement, growth, and equity. Meeting target in graduation with a graduation rate of 90%. Exceeding target in post-secondary readiness. The low cut score for that is 67%, and Wheatland High School's at 89%, so really blowing it out of the water there by what we're doing with CTE, college and career readiness, so really proud of that. And then the one that's been our low area a couple years in the past was our credits earned. This would be the current junior class. They were 96% of them earned their quarter credits, so and then we also have the policy change in required credits, so our hope is that we didn't lower that because of that, our credits to graduate, but hopefully with that lowered quarter, that we'll see more students meet that target. So instead of getting 7, they're now 6. So hopefully that number continues to go up.
Questions? Good, thank you.
Good, thanks, guys.
So I think the last one was the adoptive board member assignments. I'll just read them real quick. We did a drawing at our district leadership meeting, so Libby will be Amanda, West and Glendale will be Clay, Wheatland Middle School and Peak will be Sean, Wheatland High School will be Lou, Maintenance and Transportation will be Diane, Technology and Business will be Chase, and then Food Services Special Ed will be Doug. That's how it came out. We just gotta make sure we didn't have any doubled up like you haven't been in those places before, so.
Right.
That's gonna be the adoptive board member assignment.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah?
She's at the high school.
Oh, I got you, but different locations.
Yeah,
I'm not the same person in different locations.
Any school I go to at this point except for Wes, I'm still gonna have somebody there, so it's all right.
Alright. Okay, then, following along, we have, there's the link there for the Platte County Economic Development minutes as well as the August Parks and Recreation minutes. Everybody can read those. The policy evaluation.
Yeah, so we're gonna start the work in October for all those subcommittees. I have some information from the association, I kind of went through each one of those, there's 8 different areas, and I kind of have who's gonna facilitate that. And then when we go down below, didn't we talk about that? They're kind of connected. So because there's 8 different ones, I don't know if it would be good to have board members take one of those, even though you're not on the big committee, right? The policy committee meets and we talked about the ones about the changes to the cell phone and our long-term sub policy, that's a committee. But it seems to me this is a lot of the work the board should be doing, so even though you're not on the committee, you could choose one of those sections, like section B. You could be the one and be part of that subcommittee, they meet, they talk through it, they look at model policies, you make recommendations to the larger committee. So I don't know if the board would be willing to do that, but it would be different than the subcommittee, the thing would be everybody, right? Everybody gets a chance, at least one section to get feedback and to hear from the committee about what they think about the policy or review the model policy, because that is kind of a guide for us to look at. So I don't know if the board would like to do that, then you get everybody at least on that subcommittee.
I'd be interested in that, I enjoyed that when we did that last year, about with JD and.
Yeah. So I have a list of what those policies are and the titles, because that helps, not just like CBAB, what does that mean, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
I'll leave it a Lou, and after the meeting, if you guys wanna look, if you wanna sign up, we can
Okay.
put on those subcommittees and go from there.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Whatever's left.
Okay, alright, now it's time for my report, there's not a lot going on, did that, training,
I was just showing you that, I don't know if you have anything on there, I know if you want.
the policy committee met the other day, I don't think any of the other ones that we have, if you guys, it's in our packet, but we have our committee assignments, if you guys have any questions on that, those are the standing committees. We have the food committee, Diane and Amanda and I are on that, we're gonna meet next week, I have to talk to you guys about the date of that.
School lunch.
School lunch,
Discussion.
just working with Marie on what our options are there, and what the limitations and things are, but how can we improve our lunch program, and be more efficient. When we had our training on Friday, it was brought up, again, and Clay, mentioned it earlier, the west and the not being able to lock it down and different things like that. So we had talked about forming a committee, to have conversations with, Mr. Waring and look at options that would be available for, the district to maybe help secure that building or something, so. And Amanda and Clay had said that they would be on that committee, we like 3 on a committee, anybody, Sean. Sean's the 3rd one, so. That will be the committee for West, so you guys can take that and run. Okay. Alright, I think that's about all I had. We'll move on, seeing no old business, we'll move on to new business.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the adoption of CKA firearms rule and regulation, conceal and carry.
I'll second
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion on approving the firearm regulation.
Okay, after all of this conversation, I am going to say that I'm taking Ryan's lead that we should do a little bit more research on the types of training programs that are available and what we can conceivably do.
I agree,
So as such, I'm wondering is there a way that we could table it for now till we can get a little bit more information. The reason also is with the changes to law enforcement right now, I don't know how we're doing with the SRO. Where are we gonna be? There's a lot of things in flux right now. So my position hasn't really changed in terms of training. I'm still on board with that. I just would like to know what that actually looks like so that for our staff and volunteers, they can have a reasonable idea of what that expectation is. That's just my thought.
Here's my thought. You know, the state didn't give us any leeway here. They didn't say, well, we'll give you 2 years to figure this out. And so, and I understand Ryan's position, but if we table this, then we're the wild, wild west. Anybody, any of our staff, anybody can carry and conceal. And I'm unwilling to let that happen. We can amend this regulation if we need to, somewhere along the line. But if we wait and sit around with our hands, it just doesn't work for me. I mean, I can understand Ryan's position, but the state put us in this position where they didn't say, you know what, in 2 years, it's gonna be open.
Right.
We're gonna let you conceal carry wherever you want to, and in every public building in the state of Wyoming. So have your ducks in a row in 2 years. They didn't give us that option, and I'm unwilling to say, geez, we're gonna push this down the road again. We've been talking about this since early summer.
April.
And so, I'm unwilling to do that. I think it opens a can of worms that we just sit and wait, and pretty soon everybody will say, well, geez, it still isn't what I really want. I'd like you to do some more thinking about it. Well, I think we have to jump in and we can amend this regulation if we have to again. The other thing is, having them pay for it. If you're a CDL driver, guess what? To keep that CDL, you have to go have a medical every so often to prove to the federal government that you're physically able to handle that CDL and that truck or tractor trailer. So as a result, I'm just not willing to put this on the table and wait. I mean, we've had plenty of time to talk about this, and we're just kicking the can down the road, and I'm unwilling to do that.
I'll go ahead and go down kind of a similar path. I don't disagree with finding out what that looks like as far as training further. I do agree with Doug though, and again, this is, as I said earlier, I've said it before, even this meeting, that we gotta have something in place to say, here's the standard that we wanna see. And we've amended the cell phone policy. That we came back and amended that after the fact. I don't see why we can't do that with this one. And my big thing is just getting something in place to say, okay, here we go. Here's what we're looking for. Just something, and then look at it down the road and go, okay, can we tweak this because of something else? Does the legislature open up training money more than they have ever before and said, okay, now that you've got this, and you want people to be trained and certified, well, we're gonna give you this much money. Well, if that happens next year in the legislature, maybe we change this policy to reflect that. I don't know, but I kinda feel like we need to go ahead and get it in place because, correct, as of July 1st, this is a deal now. Like, this is happening.
So just because it's not a policy, it's a rule, so we would have to go through the same process with any changes, was the only consideration that I had in mind.
And seek further feedback at that point.
But I think if we changed that regulation significantly, we'd be still doing the same thing. I think our attorney would tell us that, you put out this provision at 13 hours or 12, 18 hours and 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanna change that, and here are the courses that we require you to take, we'd have to do this anyway. We'd have to do the rulemaking one more time because it's a significant change and we had to publish and have available to the public what we anticipated providing.
And I think that'd be a good conversation for the next time we talk to them, go, okay, if we do put this in place, we have it in place, how do we tweak this now? What have you seen out there in the last 6 months that has tweaked these further to make
Right.
it better?
Well, you know, and I just am wondering, if my main concern was availability. And then of course we have time constraints, cause ideally it would have been good if, like during the summer, we could have had this in place, but the other aspect really is, you know, where are we with law enforcement right now? It was my understanding with Torrington that their chief of police actually was doing the training. We don't seem to have that option here. So I was just looking for ways that maybe, you know, maybe if we put it off like a month, we could figure something out. I don't know, it's okay.
No.
Like I said, I'm just
Understand?
throwing out some ideas. Just because of the expectation piece for our people and whether or not they might be choosing to participate in carrying. You know, being even willing, because really, who's gonna know until they take the training anyway? But I still don't see anything like right before me right now that says, well, this is where we can go get trained. Does anybody else have that?
They have it in Casper. Casper has, I think, law enforcement doing
I
it.
think there was one in Cheyenne that I
Yeah.
found, and then there's several
Okay.
down south of the border that.
I think we need to know some specifics on that.
I'm still stuck in the middle. I think we already live in the Wild West. The same thing could happen at Safeway or Walmart or a Rally or wherever you're gonna go. I think we already live in the Wild West. And I mean, if we were back in my high school where I grew up, my thought would be way different, but I think it already is.
Okay, well,
And I would like more.
I just thought I'd ask.
I agree with you, is what I'm saying, I would like, I'm not ready to commit to it yet.
Okay, so just to clarify for everybody, our options are right now is to go ahead and vote yea or nay on approving this. There could be a motion, to your point, there could be a motion to lay this on the table. And then we could bring it back up again, so those are our options.
It's your option, but I think you still then have to go through the same rulemaking again.
Right.
If we tweak it, but again, we don't know what it looks like if we put the rule in place and we tweak it down the road, like.
I'll be honest, we're not gonna know. I mean, sometimes you just have to do something and say, we'll work through it. I mean,
Like the legislature did with this rule.
well, they put us in this position, I'll be real honest with you, and they didn't give us any time. And I'm unwilling to say, geez, you can conceal carry without any training in the Platte County School District #1 as a teacher, staff member, or volunteer. I'm unwilling to do that. And that's all you're doing is postponing something that you hope you find out some more information.
And I don't mind coming back next meeting and giving more information, I'll do more research on this, on that side of it and have something. But to the same effect of, similar to what Doug said, we've got families out there that have contacted me about this that are less than happy about even the idea of it. And I think it would be an injustice for them to not go ahead and get something in place so that it eases their minds about this. Because
You
that's.
mean from people who are willing to be a volunteer or a carry in the school, is that what
No,
you're saying?
people that have students in the district that are concerned about
They're
the
being-
idea of teachers carrying without any sort of rules or
Okay.
regs or anything of that nature. Because I've had more than one conversation with more than one individual.
But it's not
And
just teachers, and I hope that whenever they got off the phone with you, that they called the representatives and gave them the same butt chewing.
I know, and that's,
So,
the
just
thing
saying.
is, it's just, people are concerned about this for numerous reasons and
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them, because we've been dealt the cards we've been dealt, wanna play the cards we can play, and that's where we're at with this is the cards that we can play right now. And to hold it off longer I don't, they're not gonna like it. And quite frankly, I don't like the idea of extending this further. Now, I do like the idea of finding out more information, absolutely.
Right, I
I've
think
always
we
been
should-
an information individual,
I
give
think
me
we
more.
need to provide that for
Yeah.
for our staff and anybody who could be.
And that could be even compiling a list of here's where you could go to get trainings to equal this, and this is what the cost looks like.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing that, I will do that in a heartbeat. But again, I think that this is a necessary thing for us in the current situation, it's no different in my mind than a CPR first aid training. We're asking you to do something above and beyond the call of your normal duty, we're not asking it, if you decide to do that, you're taking on that responsibility, and that's where I see that the training is more than necessary in this case. And that's my opinion on it, and I wouldn't be comfortable doing something like that without going further. And maybe that is extending our reach a little bit to ask people to do a certain amount of live fire in a certain amount of scenario, but at the same time, something's better than nothing. And that's what we're facing right now, there's nothing out there, if you got your conceal and carry right now, tomorrow, and DCI sends you the little plastic card that says you can do it. What do you got? You don't know the law, you don't know much other than that, other than the fact that you can now hide that thing on your person and walk through the doors. And having a teacher in that situation is different, because now you've got 20 sets of eyes eyeballing you all day long while you do it. And now what?
But it's not just the teacher, it could be the bus driver, it could be the lunch lady, it could be a para, it could, it's not just
But they all interact with our students.
I understand that, but it's not just the teachers that are, it's just the idea, it could be the principal, it could be any one of us, it could be literally everyone, you can't just say teachers, cause that's not,
Well, that's,
it's not just them.
I know, and I agree, but it's still the idea that we have full-time individuals, part-time individuals, and volunteer individuals that as of July 1st, as you like to put it, it's the Wild West, and that's where I'd like it to be not quite the Wild West. We have a little bit of, here it is, let's toe this line for a minute. And we can tweak it down the line, but I'd like to have something in place tonight.
I apologize, I forgot.
It's okay,
Oh, sorry.
I would just say that we could just go ahead and vote, but I do wonder how many districts have already passed a rule? Does anybody have that data?
I just know regionally there's two that I'm familiar with.
Okay.
And Congress still has theirs from when they initially did it, correct? Or did that
That's
get
not
to be-
valid anymore, they had to repeal that,
Okay,
and then they didn't vote to do a rule in Congress.
gotcha.
I can tell you Goshen has a rule and Laramie, one has a rule.
The catchy part is that no one else has the rule. That's the part that's so difficult, as you've explained really well, that guns can be everywhere, but here, well, we're not saying that, we have to have some regulations, we're so inhibited that I think that we'll probably end up not having guns here much at all. And that's the concerning part.
Just for clarification, I don't think this should ever been here, I'm gonna totally jump on that bandwagon and this is ridiculous that this has to be my opinion, personally, ridiculous that this has to be a conversation in a school zone. Not a fan, not supportive of that whatsoever. So my opinion on this vote will just be for the hand that I've been dealt now. It's not, has nothing to do with the legislation. And I know, in my 3 years of being on this board, I haven't had legislation walk in this room and wanna talk to us about any of it. Haven't gotten a phone call from them either, haven't gotten an email or anything. Excuse me, so, just my 2 cents.
Our legislator is in Tel Aviv right now.
He didn't come before us, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, that's, we could hit that point a lot, but
We could go ahead and,
so there's again, if we have a yes, no vote, or table with a motion that has a majority. This is up.
Are you retracting?
I'm retracting, tabling it, yeah.
Alright, so any further discussion to approve the adoption of the CKA firearms rules regulations can still carry? Any further topic, discussion? Okay, all those in favor to approve the adoption of the CKA firearms rules regulation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
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 Alright, so ayes, raise your hand please, so we get it. Thank you, and noes, everybody raise your hand for the time. Okay, thank you. Motion fails. Alright, on to item 2, personnel, hiring, resignation, and termination.
I make a motion to approve the personnel, hiring, resignation, and termination, including the modifications.
I second that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on that?
I do have some questions. A couple of things. We have, can we use names? I got in some of this.
Sure.
Our maintenance person gets another $6,000, Jim does. Isn't he just required, isn't this part of his job anyways?
Yeah, so that would be out time, his job really isn't to mow the grounds.
I think it is, I'll be real honest with you.
Yeah, so you usually have, well, here's what it comes down to, let's address this, if you guys are okay, I'll just make what I think, and then you guys can ask questions. But in general, every position we have, because of declining enrollment, we have to look at for efficiencies and effectiveness. The head groundskeeper is questionable because what do you do in the wintertime? You try to add them into other things, you try to have them do mechanics. But really, it's a high need at a certain time for grounds, and then becomes a high need when we have snow removal. So in previous discussions with some of our directors, we had one that did some groundwork because they needed it. We do ask people to go outside their normal duties to do on-call snow removal. So what we try to do is say, here's a position that salary and benefits is about $70,000. Do we need to try to offer this position because we don't think the pools are real high? We don't have high quality people to do the work, right? If you have one applicant, we'd be lucky. The applicant we would have wouldn't have the skills we're looking for in terms of programming our boxes for the different zones, all those kinds of things, they don't have the skills. So when I talked to Jim about this, I said, we might look at an extra duty stipend and we would put a more skilled person into an extra duty stipend and not replace a full-time person. By doing that, we'd save about $50,000. It's not Ryan's responsibility to mow, but he's did that in the past. As a director, I don't think it's Jim's responsibility to mow all the grounds. He's more of a manager and a director. He's exempt, he's not hourly, right? Blaine in the summer has a little additional time. You do lots of state reports during the summer. Sometimes it's nice to get out of the office when you're sitting there for 10 hours. He could actually go and help with the mowing, and he could help with some of the maintenance things, the mechanical issues. So we kind of had good fits with everybody and be able to save money by not replacing a full-time position. That's the reason for the recommendation.
I disagree. I think our maintenance guy, if he's trained to do that, has to step up and it's part of his job. I'll be real honest with you. I'm probably unwilling to give him the extra $6,000. It's just like anything, any other board I've been on, if you're that person, you have to step up and take care of it. My other concern is, will it take away from Ryan or anybody else's job that they're doing at any point in time?
Yeah, so because they're exempt, they don't really have the hourly, like you don't have to work 8 hours. It's a general idea that you work hours, but sometimes it'll be 60 hours, sometimes it'll be a little less. So we talked about it, we said it's extra duty beyond your normal working hours. But if you had a chance, like you had a lull, let's say Ryan loses electricity in the building, he was gonna go in and fix switches.
Right.
Well, instead of twiddling his fingers, he's like, hey, I'm gonna go take care of my third of that responsibility right now because I have an opportunity to do so. I asked each one of them if they felt like they could handle the extra work, and each one of them said they felt yes, they could. Would we evaluate this after to see, is the quality of our grounds, are we doing a better job with snow removal? Because we have more hands on decks, instead of kind of volunteering their time, it's expected now? I mean, we wanna talk about, I calculated the extra duty by $20 an hour is what that base pay is for head grounds. I looked at what would be the grounds responsibility, in general, what would be some snow removal, and we're talking, they're gonna get pulled out on a Sunday when there's a big snow, it's gonna be early morning. It's in addition to Ryan and Blake's really their job description.
I understand those two, I don't have issue with those two.
Okay.
I do have,
But don't we have the issue, Doug, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, the available workforce to pull from to try to hire is non-existent. So what do we do? How do we do this then?
I'm saying I'm fine with those other two, I just think it's part of Jim's responsibility to make sure the snow is removed and that the lawns are taken care of. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it is.
Well, don't they have job descriptions? Don't they have one?
But it says maintenance.
So this is what you're talking about is outside of what's in his job description.
Yeah, outside his normal requirements.
So
And that's why we have a head groundkeeper, that's why those job responsibilities fall underneath, that's kind of like saying, am I responsible for the teacher, should I be a teacher? Well, I'm a superintendent, I wouldn't be the teacher. I do have the certifications, I like kids, I'd step in if I needed to, but
Right,
that's not
that's my
something I don't
point.
think you require me to do, but.
So the groundskeepers take care of the football fields, the fields over at Wheatland Middle School, the grass over here, the sprinklers, they do all of that.
Sprinklers are big because
And
we
then
have,
snow removal, and how many times did we go to concerts last winter where the sidewalks weren't taken care of? No, I'm just saying that, you know, that's at night when the concerts are happening or the games are happening in the evening and it starts to snow. So you're asking people to come in after hours,
Yeah, I mean, the assessment has to be whether it's gonna work for them too.
right?
But I love the idea of eliminating a position. And I love how you're being dynamic on doing that.
Mhm. Solving an issue, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we discussed that.
Okay, any further questions or comments on the hiring, resignations, and terminations?
And this is something you said you would reevaluate when, next summer?
yeah, after the summer, because that's kind of the heavy load, even though we do have a little bit left this year.
So a year at that, and then you would reevaluate whether the money is adequate or should be adjusted.
The quality of work.
Or, I guess I was gonna say, or maybe, you know, a candidate comes up that would like to have that position.
Further comments, questions? All those in favor to approve the personnel hiring, resignation, and terminations, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No?
No, and only because I believe that Jim, it's part of Jim's job. The rest of them, I don't have any issue, it's hard to vote no against all those others, but that's how the motion was formed.
We are on to item 3. We have
I would make a motion to approve isolation pay number 1.
I'll second that.
thank you. Any questions or comments on this one? The isolation pay is what we pay a family who brings their student into the district if we don't have a route for them.
Or to the nearest bus stop?
The nearest bus stop, okay, thank you. So we have those, any questions on number one? Sorry.
I have a general question. Is it, if they're within the town, they don't ever qualify? And I think one, you said it was 2 miles is all?
I think it was 3.7 from the bus stop, so if they were way out of town, we didn't have a bus route, they might have got isolation pay for, let's say 30 miles, now that we're going out there because maybe we had a new family move in,
Okay.
then they would be paid to take their children to that bus stop.
At what point do you cut that off? I'm just curious, cause do you have to get to their doorstep or?
You would go to the doorstep, that's not a requirement.
No, I'm just saying, at what point do you allow isolation or?
So
Jamie
usually,
and Blaine worked on this, Jamie probably.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
so usually you go from the end of their driveway, so they're responsible to get to the end of their driveway of where a bus would come in. And then it goes within the 2 miles, so if you are within 2 miles of town,
Okay.
then that's when you qualify for isolation.
Any further questions? So the motion before us is to approve isolation pay number 1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Moving on to item 4.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve isolation pay number 2.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions on number 2? All those in favor of approving isolation pay number 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Alright, and number 5.
I'll make a motion to approve isolation pay number 3.
I'll second.
Thank you. Alright, any questions on number 3? Okay, all those in favor of approving isolation pay number 3, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Alright, item 6.
I'll make a motion to approve the graduation date and time for Wheatland High School, May 17th, 2026 at 2 p.m.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussions or comments? Alright, all those in favor to approve the graduation date and time for Wheatland High School, May 17th, 2026 at 2 p.m., please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Alright, number 7.
Okay, I'd like to approve policy GCE, part-time and substitute professional staff employment on first 2 readings.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Questions or comments on this one? We had looked at it prior for information. It's the first of 2 readings. After 2 readings, it's approved.
So.
How many, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead, I'm gonna dig it out if I can.
How many people do we have at the permanent part-time professional staff, if any, right now?
I don't know if we have any right now, we're really looking at the long-term sub, and that's the reason we brought this policy up, even though it's part of this policy.
And so if you're looking at the long-term sub, if they're a retired teacher and they're getting, I'm just asking because I don't know the answer to it. If you're a retired teacher and you're already getting your retirement, can you continue to pay into the retirement on the 30 hours? Because on the 30 hours weekly, we pay full benefits. That's my question.
Yeah, so you have a choice, I believe, if you want to go back in and you would add a year of service to your retirement. You could either take your retirement or you could
Suspend your retirement?
Yeah, or actually continue with it and pay in and you add on to your years of service.
And is it GCE or GCG? Just wanna make sure, cause it says G here and E here.
I have, it code says GCG.
Yeah, so let's make that correction. I don't know, this was just on the voting sheet, maybe it was a typo only on that.
Good catch.
But it's right here on the policy. And so when you guys were talking during the meeting, you basically just moved things from, you put all the part-time together and then the substitute professional staff employment together, right? So you just basically flip-flopped it on the page is what happened. Correct? Correct. And then what's in the bold print was added, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's the model policy language, what was added to that would be the bold or the ones in red, is what we wanted to,
Right,
add to
I'm
the
just
model.
making
Yeah.
clarifications for the public's sake.
Okay.
Then
I guess if they
the
were
other change we said was, we changed it from 1 half-time to 30 hours weekly. That was the other change.
Mhm. So that is up at the top in the part-time, right?
Yes.
Right, just making clarifications for folks to, if they were looking at the old one.
Further questions or discussion? Alright, so all those in favor to approve policy GCG, part-time and substitute professional staff employment on the first of 2 readings, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Okay, on to 8.
I'm encroaching.
I make a motion to approve policy IIDH, personal electronic devices on first of 2 readings.
I'll second that.
And this is, the policy was in place, we're making changes to it, so we have to start over, is that correct? Or we have to have the 2 readings because there's changes to it.
Substantial changes, yeah. So the actual policy was approved and in place,
Yes.
and these are
So it didn't
revisions to
stay.
the current policy.
And the current
So-
policy will stay in place until it's replaced by this one.
Correct.
Correct.
And we've had the current policy since this summer, this summer.
Yeah, before we start school, so you can put it in handbooks.
Yes.
Okay, so any questions or comments on the policy for the cell phones or electronic devices?
It kinda has to do with that, but it kinda doesn't. As a lot of people know, sometimes I'm running in here at the last minute in Basin Blue, and I don't have my computer. So if anybody does not like me looking up the agenda on my phone and following along, you're more than welcome to take that up with me.
Well, thanks for letting us know.
That's all it is, it's no different
It
than
doesn't
checking your
look
email or
good.
following the agenda, so, excuse me.
Okay. Anything else on the personal electronic devices?
I think at a workshop, everybody voiced why they thought it was important. I think the principals and the staff indicated it's been a positive thing for everyone and that it's been implemented and I assume everybody, all the principals were in favor of it, and so.
And so I just want to go ahead and say this because Mr. Samlin, you were the exceptions. There was a question about the GPS and being able to locate your student, right? And that was part of the changes that were made, is that right? Because of the petition that was brought forth, is that right, Mr.?
Yeah, so one of the items of petition has to have the cell phones on in the student backpack, so we just wanna make sure they can be on but silenced. And then the other one would be the actual Apple Watches, the same thing, that they wouldn't be able to wear those, but they could be on in a backpack or in their computer bag, so parents would still be able to track their our students. I think that meets kind of the intent of the petition.
I just wanted to make that clarification for our public.
And then 2 exemptions I think were added.
Yeah, they're in bold. And
Yeah, so the public might not see. Public
yeah, we could read that, the
medical or
exceptions.
health-related use approved by administration, and then specific IEP/504 accommodations.
Correct.
And they have to both be, I think both have to be approved by administration, don't they?
Yeah, the 504 and IEP accommodations are approved by the student teams that work with teachers, service providers, parents, and at the upper levels, we try to get the kid involved too, to help make those decisions.
Have another layer of accountability for the student as well.
Further discussion, comments?
Nope, I'm good.
All those in favor to approve policy IIBH, personal electronic devices on the first of 2 readings, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Item 9.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the donation to WHS Golf from Cowboy Derby in the amount of $5,000.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions?
I just have a quick, who's Cowboy Derby?
Yeah.
So Cowboy Derby is a golf tournament that is
Oh, okay.
hosted every year
Okay.
by Eric and Ally Eddington are like the sponsors of it, but there's a lot of sponsors around town that also help and contribute to the, so yeah, it's a big golf tournament, it's
Okay.
a good fundraiser and they make it very clear in the golf tournament that a lot of their proceeds are gonna go to the golf team.
That was very generous of them.
Awesome.
You know, we have a wonderful community that is constantly doing things for our students, so I would like to shout out to everyone out there.
Thank you to all the teachers and everyone who is making the electronic device policy happen. I know it's gotta be another thing on your plate, and thank you for dealing with it. And I hope it gets better and better.
Okay, so any further discussion on the donation? All those in favor to approve the donation to WHS Golf from Cowboy Derby in the amount of $5,000, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Right, that leads us to our next work session. Our next school board meeting will be October 20th up in Glendo.
Is that our 3rd Monday?
Yes. Yes.
Is it? Okay.
Do we want the work session before or after? By policy, that will be, October is the month that we evaluate our superintendent, we have our superintendent evaluation, so directors and everybody out there will be getting their surveys here shortly.
I think maybe we should do a work session and then talk about board norms, cause you brought that up and said that, why don't we do that in a work session?
Do you want it the same day or do you want it a day, another day?
I would do it a different day,
Okay.
that way we're not,
The
that way we
Monday
could really
before.
focus, really put some effort into it,
I agree, okay. So the Monday before?
I think so.
That'll be I wouldn't be there on Monday before.
Okay.
I just want everybody to know I have other commitments that I could do it on Friday afternoons usually are the best, better than our regular board meeting.
We'll tentatively schedule the work session for Monday, the 4th, which would be the 13th.
I can't do the 13th either.
I'll be gone.
So
I'm gonna take vacation.
So is it Friday?
So what about Friday after the 27th works for me? Monday the 27th. Can it be after?
Generally, your work session is to talk about what you're gonna vote on at the
Yeah,
next
okay.
meeting.
Fair enough. How about the 6th? No.
Let's just put a question mark by our work session, we can always
Do you want to?
come together and then we can.
I can always do that 5 to 7, I'd have, if it goes beyond 7, I have to skedaddle.
Okay. So then we're back to the 13th.
the third, so
You can,
Diane and Chase will not be here the
they're-
13th, right? But that would give us-
Actually, I probably will be back now that I look.
Okay, so we're back to a question, the 13th, but with a question mark.
At what time?
5?
That's a separate work session, and next week is.
Can we, okay, I don't usually chime into these, but I'm already taking time off of work again on the 20th, cause I work nights that night.
Oh.
And if we come in on the 13th, I'm taking at least an hour to be here at 6 o'clock, or be late for a 6 o'clock meeting. So if you move it to 5 now for a work session the week before,
Okay,
I'm just, if we're all gonna chime in, then
okay, I think we ought to all chime in. Can we do a lunch break?
I'm on day shift, I'll be there for 12 hours, or 11.
I'm okay with 6, if we only go an hour or an hour and a half,
I can
with Doug leaving, that's fine.
Is that still kind of difficult for you, 6? Yeah.
I will make it work, just
Yeah,
do whatever
that's-
you want.
You're supposed to be at work right now, Chase, right? But I understand you've taken way more vacation, I did not mean that.
I know you didn't,
Okay.
you're good,
Okay.
but I think you probably ought to adjourn.
I'm gonna say some,
Not you.
Monday the 13th at 6,
Okay,
here. The October the 20th is our
It's
school,
here in Cleveland
in the board.
then?
And then the
Monday the
regular meeting will
13th,
be
the
in
workshop
Glendale.
is.
Okay.
Glendale will be the 20th in Glendale.
Okay, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
John, did you want these back?
Yeah, it's stuff, student stuff on the
May I have a second, please?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
And we have the